environmental scan to see other programs and services in the market that deal with the same issues. And then once they get to that place, we work with them to converge on a business model. That is to take that idea of what it is that they want to do and that those lessons from what other people in the market are doing in order to do that same thing and converge on a set of assumptions as to what you need to do to provide value to someone so that they will provide value in return. That's a business model, and it's very basic core, right? What do you need to give someone to do for someone so that they will value it enough to give you something in return? And once they have that business model and they prototype that model to see whether it actually works, then you can start working on emergence, which is developing an operations plan to find. So what coaches do is the first part, you guys are helping them to expand their vision. And the second part, you're helping them focus in on a model. And the third part, you're helping them think about how do you operationalize it, right? And this process happens over 6 months. So the first part is a 2-month process, from now until February. The second part is a 2-month process from February until March. And the third one is a 2-month process from March until May, right? Very simple. And the way that we use it, the way that we do it is using 7 different modules, of which coaching is the most important. Coaching is tied directly to deliverables. What that means is that at every point on this arc, right, I'm going from divergence, there are 2 per 1, the fellows are handing in a deliverable, a homework assignment, that reflects the stage that they're in, right? So in the first one, they're giving a homework assignment about what their fundamental bottom line is. The second one, they're giving it a homework assignment that has to do with their environmental scan. The third one has to do with their business model. The fourth one with their prototype. The fifth one with their operations plan and budget. And the last one, their financing plan, right? Their fundraising documents. And all of those go to you, and you review them, and then you schedule coffee with them, and then you talk about it. And you help them think through some of the challenges that come up. And you give them feedback and you give them that guidance, right? And so, once you've given them that feedback, they go back to their other fellows in clusters and they meet with them and workshop those shared challenges, right? So once you've been able to give them a little bit of direction, they go back and they try to work on it some more. And then they get mentorship from people who are either subject matter experts, who are out there, who have expertise in, let's say, nonprofit finance, or law, or accounting, or what have you, and get feedback to be able to fill in the gaps. And then meet with a mentor who's a seasoned professional and give them a little bit more direction about where they should be going in the field. And in case studies, which you guys are also invited to, by the way, they meet other entrepreneurs who did it, who also built up either nonprofits or for-profits, and went through the same phases and learned from them how they came up with their value, how they understood their strategic environment, how they understood their business model fundamentally. And that feeds into the process as well. Workshops provide them the tools to be able to work on these. So the workshop comes in the beginning of the month. They have 2 weeks to complete the deliverable. They have a week to be able to meet you, 3 weeks after the workshop, and so on and so forth. And then finally, once it's over, they have launch night. And launch night is an opportunity to celebrate as a community what it actually is that we all did, right? And so just to make it clear, all these modules run the entire program long. That is, during the course of the month, they start off by getting their workshop. They start working on their deliverable based on the tools that they learned. They meet with you guys as the coaches. They meet with their fellows at the clusters. But because each one of these deliverables, time-wise, each one of these modules, time-wise, is separate and distinct, they only physically meet once at most every 2 weeks. Right? And what that means is that the entrepreneurs are able to do what they came here to do, which is work on their projects. So this frames them, this helps provide them a structure of support without taking too much of their time away from actually doing what it is that they came here to do. Now, I'll give you a little bit more background on each one of these modules, just so you guys know about them. At any moment I say something that doesn't make sense to you or you have a question about, just stop me and we'll go for it. Okay? So deliverables. Deliverables, again, homework assignments. They can hand them in to you, fundamentally. And there is no such thing as right or wrong when it comes to them. That is, if an entrepreneur comes up with a deliverable that seems to you to be wrong or incorrect, then you work with them on it. You don't have to come to us and ask us, so, what do you think about this? Although we're happy to provide that support. As we trust you as someone who is someone in the market to give them feedback. If their vision doesn't make sense, then tell them that it doesn't make sense to you. If their environmental scan you don't think is thorough enough or doesn't take into account certain things, then tell them that. The whole point is that it's the practice, because it's never going to be perfect. They just need to build it up as they go along. Once they're done with these, you should know, fellows will have the basis for a business plan. Because when they go from vision to environmental scan to the business model to the operations plan to the financing, all of those lay the basis for what they're going to need to be able to do when it comes to their business plan. And in terms of the year, there are 6 of them, right? Beginning of every month. Coaching, you guys, happens in reaction to those. You're not responsible for running after the fellows. The fellows are responsible for getting in touch with you. So, as much as, and this is something that's hard especially for, there's a saying in Hebrew, which I don't know whether it's in English at all, that sometimes the cow wants to milk its calf more than the calf wants to drink. Is there any kind of analogy to that in English? No, not at all. It's just like one of those Borat things. Sometimes cow wants to milk the calf more than cow wants to drink. Yeah. No, but it's, what I'm saying by that is that sometimes the coaches really want to work with the fellow, right? But part of the skills that we're teaching them is follow-up. It's respecting the people that are helping you. It's developing a structure of support. All those things that they're going to need to know, right? So if you run after them, they're not going to learn that. They're going to learn that people are, they're going to have that sense of entitlement that we don't want them to finish the program with, right? So they need to come to you. They will send you the deliverables. You review them, and then you let them schedule a time with you. And we provide you, in order to help you understand what it is that they're working on, these 3 opportunities to meet together, to speak together, to learn about why it is that we're asking them to do what we do. Hopefully you'll benefit from them. And a whole list of things online, plus as much as we hate killing trees, we brought you a couple documents to make sure that you actually get to see them. Sometimes when things are online, they tend to get lost in our digital universe. And the coaching, of course, fits in accordance. Clusters, the fellows are going to be workshopping with their fellow fellows in groups of 3 or 4 their ideas per stage, right? So ideally, they'll be doing this before you guys meet. Practically, generally, they'll do it after. And the reason I'm saying ideally versus practice is that's just what we've learned, right? And what that means is that we use a methodology called the hot seat methodology, developed by Harvard Business School, or at least that's what we've heard. We're happy to teach it to you guys. It's a wonderful methodology for practicing pitches and for working out structural issues. And they do 2 types. They do one which is working on their current kind of challenge, and 2 working on their pitches. That way they develop their work. And also once a month. Mentorship comes in 3 shapes and sizes. So there are mentors who are personal mentors, which means that every one of the fellows that you work with is also going to be working with a mentor, right? But mentors and coaches are 2 very, very different animals. Mentors are focusing on the personal growth of the entrepreneur, thinking about how they are as a professional going forward. So in many ways, life coaching is more similar in a sense, although maybe different. It's opening up horizons for them, right? Coaching is a more tactical, practical workshopping. It's being part team member, part first customer, and giving them that objective feedback that they so desperately need. So each one of the fellows can have one personal mentor, but they're going to have access to a whole range of subject matter experts. And those are people who will give office hours once a month. They'll say that they have an hour or 2 hours a month, where the fellows can sign up and get them on the phone and ask them a few questions. Or if they're very lucky, if they have, they're more generous, to come to their office and meet with them in person and ask them a few questions. So an example for that is a fellow who wants to think about incorporation, and we have a lawyer that's willing to give 2 hours a month. So they can sign up for half an hour. They can talk to them about the questions that they have, get a few technical answers, and go on with their lives. And then the third part of the mentors, of course, once a month. The third part of the mentors are the case studies. And those are successful entrepreneurs, both for-profit and non-profit, that we bring the fellows into their boardrooms and let them kind of roundtable about the topic of the month, be it visioning or environmental scan or business modeling, etc. The workshops are the only frontal part of this whole program. The workshops are kind of the least also element when it comes to this. And these are practical tool sessions. New York, different than any other place, what we're doing is we're having them in the evenings during the week. Every other city, we do it once every 2 months, full day Sunday. New York, what we're testing out here is what happens when you do it in the beginning of the month, on a weeknight, every month. Because we're not going to take them for a full day seminar every month, so we broke it up in such a way. And these workshops do two things. They teach the business tools for the month, and they provide social media tools that help the fellows develop their project in a lighter fashion. That is, develop what's called as a lean startup at a certain level. So, for example, if they're working on visioning, then the question is, well, how do you share that vision? We train them on how to build a website in 5 minutes, how to develop social media presence, and all that kind of stuff. If they're working on operations planning, we're also introducing them to a number of different online toolkits for project management, for time tracking, etc. Right? And that gives them that kind of double whammy of tools. And if you guys want to come to those, you're welcome to join the fellows. And then finally, launch night happens at the end of the program, and that's an opportunity for all of us to celebrate the wonderful work that we did. So it's kind of a mix between a beauty pageant and a science fair, where the fellows get to parade around and also, show what they've been doing, invite their team members, invite their communities, and it's a wonderful opportunity to get new people involved and to share in what we do. And the thing that I like to say is that at the end, everyone wants a star. So that's the basic element there. And so holistically, they build their ventures, right? They go from vision all the way to fundraising rollout, so that while this program is happening, they're working on what they need to work on. And by the end, hopefully either they'll have something or they won't. And risk is always a part of entrepreneurship. It could be that by the end of this program, the fellow that you've been working with will say, you know what, it's not for me. And that's okay. It's okay because entrepreneurs that fail are just as likely to succeed the next time around as entrepreneurs that succeed. Statistically, across the board. A little bit less, by like 3 percentage points. It's fine, right? That's the point of all this, that we're trying new things, that we're pushing the envelope, that we're developing new opportunities for our people and for our community to impact the world. And so on a basic level, let's go through what the coaches do. And I'm going to actually pass out this form. And the reason we're printing it out again is not because we like killing trees, but because what we found is that when we only provide it digitally, sometimes people just don't get to really take a look at it. What coaches do basically is they provide a listening ear to the fellows. They serve as an opportunity for the fellows to test out what it is that they're working on. What you do not do, and this is the more important element for me right now, what you do not do is you do not bear responsibility for their success or failure. You don't. You can't control it. And what that means is that if the fellow's going in a direction that you don't like, that's okay. And what we're hoping to be able to work with you on is, if those challenges occur, come to us and let's talk about it. Let's see what it is that, if a red flag goes off, let's see what it is that might be trouble, and let's work through that. You have to run after the fellows. So the fellow's not reaching out to you and not scheduling coffee, it's nothing wrong with you. It's something wrong with the fellow, and we need to know about it so we can talk to them about them not serving their constituency well. You're also not expected to edit the fellow's work or to improve their work. You got to trust them to be adults about this stuff. If they're not mature about their work, if they're not doing their work well, then A, we'll talk to them if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable speaking with them. And a fellow who doesn't fulfill their responsibilities is no longer a fellow. Right? And unfortunately, that happened twice last year. And something that has to happen sometimes, right? I mean, there's a reason that.
Well, what's the age range?
This year, I think, well, in general, our average age is 31. This year in New York, I think it's a little higher, right? What's the age in New York?
They're generally 20s, 30s to 40. I don't know, I haven't done an exact average of